up traders, what up investors, Ken here from Dyslexia Investor, and thank you for tuning in for another fantastic video. Today we're going to be looking at 6, potentially even more. We have a large earnings week coming out. Again, a lot of tech heavy stocks. Of course, we have Netflix, we got Tesla, we got Intel, we even got my favorite Chipotle coming out on earnings. We're going to be looking at a fantastic little Twitter handle of Earnings Whisper. They do a fantastic little platform on showing highlighting some key earnings coming out. Very visual, a pleasing chart. And then of course we're going to be diving into each of the particular earnings. Of course, it's going to be a very fulfilling, packed week of excitement if you're into the market as much as I am. But that being said, let's go ahead and cut over to the main screen here. Again, a little bit of a roughy good Guffian transition here. We're going to be looking at this Earnings Whisper here. So what are we looking at here? This is Earnings Whisper, the Twitter handle at eWhispers. Basically, they do a fantastic little overlay here on this little a graphic here, I would call it, and it kind of gives you the before and after earnings. It doesn't give you every single earnings that's coming out that day, but they kind of rank it and kind of giving the more popular ones to the top and kind of falls to the bottom. Of course, we got Logitech, love that, Netflix, Snap, Tesla, Chipotle, Intel. Well, of course, we got AAL on there, God bless them. Same with Southwest. And then we have some other key feelings like Mattel, of course, CSX, okay, huge component of how the overall economy is doing and how freight is moving throughout the country and what is moving the best and what current rates are companies getting for being able to move that kind of inventory. So that's a very key thing I always look at, and I kind of have this up in the corner of my screen throughout the week to kind of guide me on where things could be going. So that being said, we have those kind of 6 charts that we talked about initially here. So we're just going to be diving into the very first one. Let's just go ahead and dive in. Whoops, wrong button. I want to go to charts, I want to go here, and we're just going to go into Logitech first. This thing has been a very much of a high flyer as well, with the sense of, hey, the market has been doing fairly well, because everyone's going to need those headphones, they're going to need mice, they're going to need webcams. This thing has been performing very well. Of course, had a little of a pullback here, broke through the 50, kind of shook some people out, but it's been performing fairly well here. Kind of trying to get it back into this overall trend here, just staying above the 21 and 34, kind of stalling out here, potentially running into earnings to kind of see how things play out. Initial support to the downside is going to be around the 21 to 34 EMA, so we're going to be looking from anywhere from $77.27 to around $75.89 for some initial support. Even stronger support coming into that 50-day SMA at $74.31. Some upside potentials. It's going to be pretty, very basic here in the sense that there's not going to be too much of the Fibonacci retracements that we can look at. So if this low wants to stay in place here, we're going to be initially looking for 82.42 to around 84.43 to the upside for some earnings. Since Logitech does not have weekly earnings, as you can see here, it's going to be very hard or difficult to play this on the weekly side for selling premium. All right, that being said, next is the Netflix. This has definitely been a monstrous stock, especially for earnings. We're looking at the chart without just moving this out of the way. You're really seeing a really overhead resistance here around the 460 to like the 475-ish range. I'm sorry, 560 to 575 range, and hitting this triple top here, kind of creating this overall like hesitation, this overall invisible wall where it's not able to break through and really go to higher prices. And each time it kind of hits that imaginary wall, it kind of just comes down a little bit. And each time it hits that imaginary wall, it kind of comes down to the 21 and 34, sometimes even breaking through it aggressively. But that being said, we're seeing that with the overall market, that some of the stocks have not been holding up as much as they should have. Of course, with Disney Plus and them really just taking a kick in the you-know-what from them, and really just kind of gaining a lot of momentum there. That being said, where do I see some initial support to the downside? So let's kind of swing that chart back over. I actually want to upgrade this to this side and go here and go low here. Initial support, it's actually on a very short dated support now at 530, but there's going to be more initial support around that 50% retracement in between the 21 to 34 EMA at 516 here. Since this does have weekly options, they're expecting a move of, again, $53. This is rounded up to 54. $54 upper plus or minus. So this can be easily go below that around 590. That's going to be breaking below the 50-day SMA again. or to the upside, which is going to be trying to get it to that key level of that 575, which we've seen it kind of miss a number of times. That being said, it's going to be a very interesting one to watch. Most likely not going to be playing it. If I am be playing it, I'm going to be selling some puts way down here to kind of maybe potentially collect some premium from that. And then also on the same day, we have Snap. Snap has been a very great performer actually compared to the Facebook, just because it's just not been really in the news headlines and really getting the crosshairs of that. I don't use any of these platforms. But that being said, this is definitely a very strong aggressive chart here. It's been holding that 21 EMA, continually grinding up here, holding again those very aggressive moving averages as well between the 5 and 8, hitting a key level here at 28.56. Running into earnings, this can be a very difficult one to get into. Initial support, I think this has weekly options, and it does. So they're looking for a move about $3.50. So $3.50 is something that we could potentially look for some downside support around that 26 to around that 26.37 level, initially to the downside, even to that 34 EMA around $25.05. And then if we can get a breakthrough of that 28.50, that next target in this overall trend would be around $30.67. So that kind of does it for Tuesday. There's a couple other key companies coming out with like Texas Instruments and iRobot. But the next following day, we have Abbott Labs, Verizon on the morning. Thermo Fisher is definitely one we want to look at. But the biggest one for that day, of course, is the old Tesla, Papa Ela here. Really going to be a pretty large amount of trades going on. This one's kind of similar to the Netflix, where it kind of has this invisible line here around that 462 range, and it's just kind of been hitting it and just kind of failing here. Of course, Tesla is always in the news about something referencing 420, whatever. The EV market has really been blowing up. Of course, Tesla is a huge component of it, building the Gigafactory in Berlin, and of course also in Texas. It's going to be a very large amount of stuff coming out from that. Since full disclosure, long-term investor in Tesla, very larger amount of stock in Tesla. This thing is still looking fairly well. Like you can kind of see here, just kind of zooming out on the daily side, initial support is going to be coming around that 405 to the 404 level. So this one on the initial options is going to be something a little bit more aggressive. So they're saying plus or minus $48. This is call it 50 to be quite honest. But if you know anything about Tesla, it doesn't listen to rules and it just kind of does its own thing. Initial support's going to be coming around that 385. If it does come to 385, if it really sells off for whatever reasons on earnings, again, earnings are a complete coin flip and things can happen out of no apparent reason. Elon can say a couple negative things and the press can skew it and the algos and the short sellers just going to go crazy. If it really breaks this level here and goes a little bit lower, I would wait 2 or 3 days to see how it pans out. Might not even be 2 or 3 days. It's going to be a pretty quick turnaround. But we saw even with the last earnings, the news was great, but the overall hype up of everything, it didn't hold any water, as they say. With that came down right to the 21 EMA. Since we're kind of in a very tight pattern here, that 21 to 34 EMA would be initial support, but that's not at significant levels of where it could happen. But just again, you have to have a playbook and be ready for any kind of move. To the downside. To the upside, we're really going to be looking to try to test that 500 level. That 500 level has just been something that's been very attractive for the stock for quite some time, and to kind of see how that plays out with this earnings. Again, it's all going to matter on how many cars they made and how many are sold, and of course the overall progression of what their factories are doing there. And next one is going to be CMG. Get that Chipotle. Oh, CMG, not CHG. Of course, Chipotle has been a pretty good flyer, again, a sense of adapting to the new norm of the sense of the virus and so forth. That being said, we're seeing some key levels here. This has also been a very good trending chart between the 21 and 34 EMA, having a little bit of that sell-off that we saw the beginning of September here that kind of took things lower. But the 50-day came in, gave it some support, and now it's kind of continue going higher. With this one, again, this is a very expensive stock. We're talking about nearly $1,400. They're saying a move about $95. Again, we're talking about a food company that makes decent food here, looking for initial support, again, to the 21 EMA to the 34 EMA, around 1269 to 1283. And then to the upside, we're going to be trying to test that level. We're just going to round it like 1400 for a key level to try to potentially break out. Again, this thing has been a monstrous move. If you don't remember, many years ago, I think it was a couple years ago now, the E. coli outbreak that Chipotle had, it was really in just purgatory for quite some time, and it's now getting back to its very fast, high growth stuff. Again, they got a newer CEO. He's really trying to kill it. He actually came from Taco Bell to now he's running Chipotle. So thumbs up on that. Definitely one we're going to be keeping a very close eye on. And then last but not least, we're going to be looking at Intel. So Intel, talking about a crazy quarter. Intel's last quarter was not great because, again, they were behind due to manufacturing issues and just being behind the curve, and really allowed AMD to kind of catch up and really take a lot of some of the market share away, and really with the overall research of things. If any of us want to remember that we talked about the last earnings, we kind of wanted to hold at least around that $50 range. It has been holding that $50 range since last quarter. We kind of had this in this white purgatory box, meaning it was just kind of bouncing around at some key levels there. Now we're seeing it kind of break out here a little bit, potentially to that 52 level. Again, running into earnings, I think it might be somewhat of a surprise on what comes out again. I'm not sure which way it's skewing. I hear a lot of negative things, of course, about Intel because everyone's just completely on AMD. So full disclosure, I have shares in AMD as well. So I'm betting on AMD. I don't want a company to do bad, but I want AMD to do better. That being said, Intel's move is going to be pretty substantial as well. Again, it's a $50, $54 stock. They're looking for a move around $3.50. $3.50 could potentially bring it back down to around that 21 to 34 EMA, so just below that $51 to $52 range. And then to the upside would be substantially stronger to get it above 55. Again, that would be kind of creating somewhat of the 50% gap down from that we saw from the last earnings. Because again, on earnings, it was at around $61, and then it dropped all the way down within a couple days to around 47. So it had a pretty dramatic drop in a very short period of time. And now it's just trying to create an environment to kind of start catching back up and continue to run higher here. So that being said, be very mindful in this one. This is definitely going to be a lot of fun to watch. We're for sure going to be having a live stream on the Tesla and Netflix nights. So Tuesdays and Wednesdays, we're going to be doing a live stream to be reacting to these. And as well, before I let you go, please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe. And as well, we're doing a new segment within the Patreon and YouTube membership groups who are subscribers and who are donating and members within those two tiers, that we're going to be having a 2K account for the Tastyworks account, and I'll be sharing the trades and why I enter the trades as well. So stay tuned for that, guys. Again, thank you so very much for watching. Again, this is Ken from the Dyslexic Investor, and I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Peace!